Another year is coming on, so now let's talk about the best films I've seen this year so far in 2024. Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, Kid Review, back again with another video. So, yeah, 2024 had some hits, it's had some misses, but then again, let's get those out of the way and talk about the best of 2024 because there were some movies I feel like, okay, some of these weren't even on my radar. I'd hear about them, but then again, it's like, yeah, who would have thought? I can't even lie myself. Some of the movies I've seen this year, a couple of them I was actually excited for, were some disappointments to me, but at least I could say, you know what, let's end this year. I'll talk about the positives before I get to the negatives. So let's get over with number 10. Starting off with number 10 is one movie I really said, you know what? This movie wasn't gonna be good going into it, but then I came out like, you know what? These guys listened, and who would have thought it took an ugly design to get this Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This, I could say, it's a full on video game movie. It's the best Sonic movie by far. And I feel like, yeah, this is how you stick to a formula, doing video game characters in a movie, but not also have the humans be support. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, even Eggman are the main characters of this film. And I like the fact that it's like, yeah, this is an actual Sonic adventure we've always wanted to see put on the big screen. Yeah, it took a little bit to get started because the first film had to establish the road trip. The second one did video game elements. This here is a full on video game movie. And from the way this movie left off, I can't wait to see what's next for the franchise. Number 9 here, I gotta say, it's rare to do a prequel that is a good successor to the original film you set it off to. And I walked out of this theater like, damn, even in an apocalypse, people still try to do enough to stay alive, and it was A Quiet Place Day 1. When I heard John Krasinski wasn't going to be doing this one, and I said, oh, you're doing another group of people, and yeah, I don't even know if that magic is still going to be there for this one, but this movie was more than just a horror film. This movie was more of a personal story between someone who's dying and the fact that, oh, you're dealing with this pain during an apocalypse. What more can you do but stay positive? So far, this franchise still hasn't missed, and I like the fact that the prequel that's supposed to be the, oh, we'll get this movie out of the way, so like that when we get to the third one, okay, that can settle you guys, but this is more Quiet Place content to keep you company. I like the story, and I like the fact that it's like, yeah, this prequel wasn't just being made to get made, but there was also a story to tell, and some little elements that made you say, oh, so this is what it was like leading up to the movies, and slowly people pinpointing, oh, how do we defeat these guys? Number 8 on my list is another sequel, or also prequel if you kind of count it. Prey did his job to bring the Predator back in a new light, and Alien Romulus showed you, yeah, this is what you can do without actually trying to make up your own stories, and also set up elements where it's like, you know what? We're trying to lead into the first Alien movie, but how about we talk about a story that took place a couple moments after the first Alien? It brought together elements from all the other Alien movies, despite bringing back a couple people in CGI form where I feel like, it still had great suspense, thrills, a third act where I feel like, okay, this wasn't meant to be an ending, but since you did this little extra thing, I'm like, okay, that scared me a bit more than the little xenomorph aliens you got going on here. I don't even know if they're going to do a sequel to this, or even if they're going to continue on with the Alien franchise, because I know we got Alien Earth coming out this year, but if they're going to go back from the big screen to small screen and then come back a few years later in the new movie, I'm kind of glad to see what they do next. And since Predator's getting a new movie next year, who knows? Maybe there might be some AVP stuff going on. Number 7 on my list is a movie I didn't expect to like more, but the concept and ideas with it that came throughout, I gotta say, it really does good to put a perspective of religion, and it's Heretic. We've seen Hugh Grant be a villain in most things, but seeing him in here is like, you know what? He's actually scary, and you don't even know what to expect with this guy. The religion aspect in this, it was a little bit questionable going into it for me because I feel like, yeah, everybody sees religion in a certain form of light. In the movie, talking about it, and oh, there are ways you can actually believe in it, but also the fact is, do you really believe that you actually trust this? Perspective where it's like, oh, it's messing with your mind on it. And at least it wasn't a way to make it say, oh, we're trying to offend religion, because it doesn't really do that. It puts your moral ambiguity before what you believe and stand for, and I kind of dug it for it. Number 6 is one I really wish I talked about because going into this third one, I said, okay, now that you established everything in the second one, hopefully everything works. And I had a horrific, terrifying good time with Terrifier 3. I might talk about Terrifier down the line because I do kind of want to give my thoughts on the franchise and the fact that it's like it started out as a movie. I'm like, okay, there's some cool kills in this. Second one feels like okay, now this should have been the first movie, and the third one where I feel like if this Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 and put into one consecutive 3 hour movie, I'd say that's an interesting origin. It's a bit long, but I kind of dug this character. And seeing Terrifier 3 as the sequel to all that, I gotta say it's a good second movie. But since, movies and my own personal bias won't actually kill this. I love the kills, I love the horror. The fact that Art the Clown has gone mainstream and this movie showed it with all the marketing, I gotta say, whatever they're gonna be doing in the fourth one, I know we're going to hell, but I gotta see what can you do to at least do something with Art because from if you remember from the last movie, he's in a completely different state at this point, and I wonder if that's gonna be a big factor going in, or we're still gonna get a bit more chaos now that he is that way. Number five on my list was the biggest one I expected to be good, and I'm kind of glad that this movie ended up the way that it did, and it's Deadpool and Wolverine. With the MCU at a low point right now, I feel like there has to be something new to at least reinvent the idea or revamp whatever you're trying to do with this whole Kang story, now Doctor Doom story. But no, Deadpool and Wolverine came to say, here's what we can do with a comic book movie that actually has some fun fantasy elements, comedy, and doesn't have to connect to anything since we're just trying to have fun and tell our own story. And I'm glad it did. Seeing Deadpool and Wolverine team up for the first time, not like Origins, I can just say, yeah, this is something I would have never seen in all my life. Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine when we all thought he was out. Ryan Reynolds coming back as Deadpool now in the MCU. I know they said they're not doing another Deadpool movie that I feel like now Deadpool is more support. And if they could try to team him up with any other Marvel characters, I'm fine with it. But at least as long as he gets to stay in, give Hugh Jackman's Wolverine a couple more movies just to say goodbye to that character. And I can just say, we finally got comic Wolverine with the best Wolverine ever. And I can just say, let's fucking go. Number four on my list is a movie I thought, okay, the first one was surprisingly good. Now that we're getting a sequel to this, I hope it's good. And going into this movie, I didn't expect to love it as much as I did walking out and leave the theater like a, what did I just watch? Because that was fucked up. And it's Smile 2. I wasn't expecting much with the second one, seeing as though, okay, we're going to be doing the Smile formula again. But now it's a pop star. And I feel like the whole thing is going to be, oh, they're going crazy because they're learning about this demon. But no. This was the story of how somebody broken can be dealt with. And the fact that it's like, who knows if this was real? Who knows if this could have happened? That little piece of me thought, wait a minute. This person has dealt with torture in the past. So I feel like everything she's seeing now would have been seen as normal to the others since they see her as problematic already. I've been hearing people say that Naomi Scott should get an Oscar for this, and I know that for some reason horror isn't allowed as an actual category at the Oscars, but I feel like if she doesn't get any type of nomination or dramatic nomination for this thing or mention, it's got to be rigged because she really worked her ass off in this, and the fact that it's like she had some killer soundtrack music too. Okay, we're in the top three. And for number three on my list, I decided to go animated, where I feel like this movie, I didn't see no trailers. I saw a little like tease of it before a movie, and I'm like, okay, this looks like they're trying to do this new Spider-Verse Puss in Boots style, but going into it, I said, no, I actually kind of like what they did here. And it's something I rarely see where you get a kids movie that's not just for kids, but also meant for adults, and it's The Wild Robot. DreamWorks has had a couple movies where it's like, yeah, Trolls, I'm not digging it. You're trying something new once in a while, like Boss Baby, and it doesn't work for me. But no, this was something original. I heard it's based off a book series, and I gotta say, whatever they're doing next for the story of the Wild Robot, I'm kind of down for it. And the animation in this movie was great because I remember thinking, oh, this is like Puss in Boots, like this is doing that. So this is DreamWorks' Spider-Verse look now. But no, the animation was stellar. A couple designs where I feel like this is a painting being brought to life. And it has that little swerve where it's not trying to copy a style, but at least makes the design its own. I love this movie, and it's funny that I shouldn't have been thinking about it, or at least this movie would actually been high on my list since I thought there's some other stuff out there, but no, this one stuck with me. Number two is one of the biggest blockbusters, and one I feel like This whole story is amazing. And once we get to that third movie, I don't even know if everybody's ready to see what they're getting into. And it's Dune Part 2. Denis Villeneuve did the hardest job of actually pulling off the story into two movies. When Dune Part 1 came out, I said, okay, hopefully we get a sequel to this because it came out during the pandemic. I know it was on HBO Max, but I also saw it in theaters and I said, you know what? This movie is meant to be in theaters. And I hope if this movie gets enough support and help, we could actually get the sequel to this. And hopefully we did. This movie stuck with me, and it's the fact that this is basically almost like our new Star Wars, which I know Dune was also inspired because I feel like Star Wars took some inspiration from Dune, and now Dune is the best sci-fi thing, and it's not Star Wars. One of the best sci-fi films I've seen in a while, and hopefully enough we could get that third one because I just finished Dune Prophecy. Not as big as the movies, but it doesn't matter. Once we get to that third one, that's when the real action starts. Number one on my list is one I truly regret, and here's the story. I've seen no trailers for this film. I only saw a poster and I said, that looks interesting. I'll think about it when it comes to it. And I got lazy since I heard it was in theaters, and I didn't hear enough talk about it for some reason. I feel like, oh, there's this other stuff that came in between. But when I heard about this film, or at least got the chance to say, what's all this yoga? What's all this ass in my face? Like, what is this movie about? Oh, that's that movie. Okay. And once it got on digital, I said, all right, let's see what everybody's talking about. And yeah, that was 2 hours of what the fuck? That movie is none other than The Substance. I regret not watching this in theaters, and I hate the fact where it's like this movie had more than it bargained for because I feel like, oh, we're doing body horror. Body horror is not really my thing, but seeing as though, oh, we're seeing the downfall of somebody, and what would it be like to be young? What would it be like if you had another version of you that actually lived the life you wanted? But then again, it's a duality of two where I feel like, oh, whatever this person does affects me more than that person doing anything affects you. It put a lot of also, I could say, I wouldn't say evil tendencies of humanity where I feel like, yeah, we would have that capability and we all don't deserve that level of power. That kind of power would turn ugly, but then again, who knows how ugly it would get besides everything you've seen. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley were amazing. And the fact that it's like this movie grossed me out in a way I feel like I've seen Terrifier 3 and nothing phases me when I look at stuff like that. I can just watch it with ease, even. But I watched this movie, and for the first couple moments, and also some sound designs and choices where I feel like, yeah, it had me gagging a couple times, and a memorable third act because I had a feeling I knew where the movie was going, but something in me said, nah, not really. I don't see it going down that type of path. And once it did, yeah, all hell broke loose. That's an experience I rarely get in movies, but I'm glad I kind of watched it because I feel like I needed to have watched this in a theater, and that's something I can't go back to doing. I had to experience it from my own home, which, yeah, it would have been amazing to see this in a theater. And that's it. Those are my top 10 of 2024. And I can just say thank you guys for watching. It's been a couple of years actually getting back to doing the YouTube thing. I'm not here every once in a while because I know I'm on breaks or either I'm doing something else and I'm preoccupied. And once I miss a deadline, I miss a deadline. I'm still trying to work through this thing, and hopefully enough, 2025 is a new year for movies. And now that we're done with our top 10 best movies of 2024, stay tuned for what's known as the fun one, top 10 worst movies of 2024. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. All my social media is down in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.